and how we have a character that people can look at this game and go, I know who that guy is. I identify with a franchise. He's a character like Sonic, like Mario, like something that anyone can sort of look at without having to go, what is this game about? They go, there's Blob. And Terry, who I think has been very modest about this, was an amazing character designer throughout this process, and will now tell us all about the pain that he went through to bring Blob to life.
Wasn't me.
He's got blob-bearing hips, people. Look at him.
That's donuts. Actually, it wasn't me. There's a whole team of us designed Blob. Even Steve had his hand in it at one stage. Thanks, Steve. And it was a very painful process. We'd been playing Blob in-game for a long time before we managed to describe the character adequately. And he was always a ball, so we used that as our test subject, and we just used him as a pointer, bouncing around the world, painting stuff up as a ball. He was great, no problem. However, it had no character, it had no emotive ability, it wasn't very interesting, and it sure as hell wasn't copyrightable. So we had to create something for the player. And we envisaged lots of spheres to start with, and I'll show you that. But form and function always dictates the brief, as I have written there, helpfully on the slide. It has to appeal to a wide audience. He acts as a pointer or a brush in the game. He has to emote as a character for player engagement of narrative. He can assume 7 colours, and he's made of paint. You design it. Well, we started off with these. It was a really hard job. It was good fun, but it was really hard, and it took a very long time. Okay, so there's a team of artists working on this. There's 4 or 5 of us working on it part-time. And it took many months to produce many spheres before eventually we got sick of spheres and tried something else. But as you can see, we explored lots of spheres. This is just one page of 1,000,000 of spheres. He can't be any specific colour, don't forget, so his character has to come from his silhouette, his feature set. A ball silhouette is not much fun. We experimented with putting a little guy in the ball. Maybe he could have character, that would be cool, but you don't really get to see him, he's bouncing around all the time, it's hard to connect. And also the Punisher, I don't know why he's in there. Yeah. Okay, welcome to Ugly Blobs. Okay, so the guy in the middle at the top there was actually my favourite for a long time, just because he looked like how I felt designing the character. I can associate with this guy. But the other two are really interesting because the guys on the outside there, they really described something that was anthropomorphized and yet retained something of the ball shape. So the orange guy is flubber, he's amorphous. And the guy on the other side obviously goes into that little cooking pot and doesn't show you how ugly he is until he pops out of it. So now we're looking at this guy. When we suddenly realized the character mustn't be stupid. You do not want to play a stupid character in a game. It doesn't matter if you're Grandma or Little Timmy, you still don't want to be an idiot as you roll around, accidentally bumping into things, colouring them up. So we want to give the character attitude, and the face on this guy kind of describes that. But this is Pac-Man with attitude. It doesn't really have much more personality than that. What it does do, however, is it demonstrates the ribbon on those small images there. We had originally this idea that his graphic arms would extend into arrows and show you either where he's gone or where he's going as pointers. And that kind of stayed with us until we lost them as arms and just kept it as a ribbon. Okay, finally, this was after playing around with anthropomorphizing the ball a little bit, coming up with a character that just looked a little bit more cute, a little bit more interesting. Steve didn't like it very much, which is good because it made me go on and continue to design. And we did lots of character sheets like this, just turnarounds to show different personalities.
You said that Terry is such an amazing artist. He never stops sketching, and so you have to imagine there are so many important meetings that we have where Terry is just tirelessly sitting there sketching Blob, and I think it was during a particularly important production meeting that Blob actually came into being.
Okay.
So it was a beautiful moment.
I doodle. All right, I doodle. Actually, I was redrawing another artist's version of Blob many, many times on the pad whilst listening intently to the meeting. And I drew it badly and saw a shape in it that we'd never considered before and applied that to one of the earlier blobs and ended up with this. And that was the sketch, or at least that's a workup of the sketch that I did in the book. And we thought, hey, this guy, he really looks like he's got attitude. He doesn't have legs, but he's anthropomorphized. He just grows out of the pool that he is. He looks like he could be paint. He's got attitude. And most importantly, he has ears. And the ears were really cool because they allowed us to combine the two things together. We have a sphere character and the anthropomorphized character, but the ears always stay in the same place on both characters, allowing us to swap between the two and maintain some sense of continuity. He still has the ribbony style arms, which he lost after that, and you can see again some of the sketches that I've done to illustrate different poses there for one of the cutscenes. And there he is, finally envisaged. He's looking a bit softer and a bit tubbier there than he does these days. We kind of tightened him up a little bit, but that was the final design that was shown around and everyone liked it. And here's the Now that movie was key because it showed he had attitude, the type of poppy animation we wanted to reproduce, the kind of style that we wanted to see him in. And I think that kind of got people behind the character.
Which was a very difficult part of the whole development. I think it's always easy at the end of the day, once it's done, to sort of go, oh, it's there and Blob's so obvious now. But really, it was really hard to convince people to get behind Blob because he was so unusual and he was so, I think, deliberately bland in many ways. We wanted the player to project whatever attributes they wanted. It's you, Blob is you, and Blob is your tool within the world as well as his own kind of character with his own attitude and his own style. So it was a very sort of delicate thing bringing him to life. Some people felt that the character looked very demonic when he was red, and we had to explain that he was many different colors. And when it all sort of came together was really E3 2007, where THQ was doing a massive press event down in Santa Monica. And I had the great joy of demoing our fresh off the presses demo live to an audience of 500 people who had never heard about this game and were wondering what the hell this was all about. And so we showed that movie, and then we did the live demo, and thankfully the music was all working, and it was truly a wonderful moment. Everyone in the room was applauding, everyone was going, wow, this is cool and new and different. And suddenly, I think, not just me, but everyone involved in the game felt great, and I think people in publishing started to get very excited and think, well, here's something new and different that people are genuinely responding to. Let's not talk about him. But anyway, so what started to come to life? You can hear the music and everything working here now. We have this is like captured July, August 2007. So as you can see, the game is starting to take shape. We had most of the levels built around about this time. Some were working, some weren't, but the gameplay was really starting to come together. And showing these videos to people, they were getting quite excited, but at the same time, it's not, it's still not Mario, it's still not a platformer. We go, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a platformer. And I think that one of the challenges is, particularly with new ideas, defining it in a way that people can understand very easily. Is this game a platformer? No, I don't think it is, but it does have platform elements. Is it a kind of music rhythm game? Well, it has music involved in it, but I don't really think that it's a music rhythm game. I think the clearest analogy is it's an interactive coloring book that has platform elements and really cool music. So we started to, I guess, evangelize the game for ourselves within the company, starting to get people to look at what we were doing and think about, if people liked it at E3, how do we move forward? How do we drive this forward? And I guess that to us was the biggest learning curve in this whole process, is understanding how, I think as developers we tend to be very close to the games that we make, and everything that we're doing about the game is very obvious, and why doesn't everyone get it? And it's I think a difficult thing to step outside of that very intimate development practice that we engage in and think, well, how does the rest of the world relate to this? How does the